Welcome back to Parsnips and Parsimony. I hope it is windy today, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. I have a muff on here, so hopefully the sound quality is okay, despite the amount of wind we're getting currently. But today is June 3rd, 2023, and this is going to be my end of May garden. I know it's June 3rd, but it's going to be the end of May garden tour. If you guys want to check out my other garden tours from past Mays, I'll link those to those playlists down in the description below. But without further ado, let's take a look at how the garden's doing this year. All I can say is this has been such a strange spring, but I've added some new things to the garden this year. I've tried some new things, and I'll try to keep this video short and sweet. If you want to see more of the details, well, check out my daily vlogs. So here we did the tomatoes on the outside this year. We do try to rotate the tomatoes. That side where the netting is, that one's just a little too close to the trees, and the trees have gotten just a little bit too big. So no tomatoes there this year. We had tomatoes down the center last year, so this year we moved the tomatoes out here. Multiple varieties. I've got Rutgers, I've got Big Boys, I have Prudence Purple, which is a potato leaf variety. All of these are indeterminate tomatoes, and that just means they're going to get really tall. They're viney. They can easily hit 8 to 10 feet tall, and look at this. We are starting to get some buds here, so I'm really excited about that. I also added a watering system this year into this garden. I have not finished completely setting that up. I'm gonna get some more of the piping and the pieces, but you're gonna see those little blue, the tubing and the little blue sprayers in these beds. So what I'm doing a little bit more of this year is marigolds and companion planting. This dill, this has to get pulled out, and we're using it as we're pulling it out as we use it. So you can see there's a lot growing. This cannot stay here long term for the tomatoes because it'll stunt them. As baby plants, it'll be fine. So we're just using that up. But over here in this garden, I added basil right next to the tomatoes. They say that makes it taste really good. And then you can see all of our tomatoes here. This is not all of our tomatoes. We have more in another garden. I'll show you those in a bit. Then I have onions here and a pepper here. Now I have read that peppers and onions are great companion plants. I don't know. We'll try this out. I don't know why these onions do well here, but they are very happy next to my bird bath. So I thought, well, we'll stick a pepper here and see what happens. Early spring, I planted these onions right next to my strawberry, my lone little strawberry, which is really struggling. I had originally 4 plants. I did eat 2 strawberries, but these guys aren't looking so good. But the onions are doing very well in the little greenhouse here. So I've just been keeping it covered, trying to protect the plants and the strawberries from getting eaten from Mr. Chipmunk. I also added a new type of bee house here. I don't remember the type of bees that it attracts. I don't know if it has any bees yet or not, but I added that to our garden to increase pollinators, as well as a little birdhouse. We did have chickadees here. I'm not sure if they're still in there or not. Oh, look at you, Mr. Caterpillar. You're a new caterpillar. Are you a good caterpillar or a bad? You look cold. It is cold out today, and that caterpillar looks pretty cold. This is my echinacea that I grew from seed a couple years ago. It's doing very well, and a friend gave me new echinacea. I'll show you where I planted that. Those will be new colors to me and new plants, and I'm excited to see how they will grow in this area. The rose has been doing so much better this year. Last couple years I've been putting a rose fertilizer on the front of it, and I do have some worms. If you've never seen worm sawflies, I sprayed for them. I'm gonna have to spray again because you can see they are pretty busy. That's a rose sawfly, and that's what's causing this paper damage to all these leaves. And ooh, another little worm. What's up with all these worms on these plants? There's some more of those sawflies. So you can see all these leaves. This is an infestation that I have been trying to treat. I have it every year, and it's a challenge. But the plant seems to be doing better this year from fertilizer. I did spray this with neem oil. which is an organic horticultural oil that's supposed to help with those. Obviously, I gotta spray again. I'm not gonna go a lot into rain. We are in a drought and it is just sprinkling. I wonder if we're gonna get more than a sprinkle. Anyways, this is good news. I hope it rains a lot. I hope we get a half-inch of rain. We've been doing a lot of watering. It has been so hot today. We had a front come through. It is now 68 degrees. Yesterday it was 93 degrees and humid. I know I am not the only one that has had this problem in their garden. We have been trying to water and keep these plants alive. But maybe we're gonna get some rain. That would be really nice. Anyways, I am not going to show you all of the flowers in the round, all the beds, just because that's going to take too long. I'm going to focus strictly on the vegetables for this video. So back to this garden, I am trying something new, cucumbers. I did not have enough peppers to finish these up, so I put 2 cucumber plants here. I've been told that cucumbers absolutely love tons of water, and my hose just happens to be right there. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to baby these and give them a lot of water and see if we'll have a really good crop of cucumbers. They're not up yet. I just planted those. This year I added hoops and insect netting, primarily not so much for the bugs but for rabbits. I have a rabbit problem, and over on Facebook I said to you guys, will this work? And some of you were doubtful whether it would keep the rabbits out, but I am happy to say we've had no rabbits or problems with animals in here yet. This has been up here almost a month and it's still going strong. Inside here I've got some spinach. Again, it's been so dry. I don't know if you can see those little spinach babies. The camera doesn't like the netting. I put spinach in there, companion planting. There's marigolds. I have cabbage. Then I put lettuce in the middle. The lettuce is doing phenomenal this year. And then I have some kale. I have broccoli. More onions. I don't know if the onions get enough sunlight. I'm not sure on that. This was an experiment. And then here's the broccoli here. I'm probably gonna have to start moving this bug netting because you can see the broccoli is looking like it wants to break free. And these hoops, I got 2 different style hoops here because I couldn't decide from Amazon which one was the best. So I have this style here which has the plastic connectors, and then I have this style that had the metal connectors. And I can tell you that so far these with the metal connectors seem to be holding up better than these, and the only reason I'm saying that is from the amount of bend that I'm seeing in this plastic. And maybe the plastic will hold up fine, but you know, that's the only thing I can say about the 2 different hoops. I also planted some celery here. Again, trying companion planting to see how it works all together and if I can find something that really works well for me. Peppers are back here, and again, doing the whole onion and pepper thing, they look good. You know, we'll see what happens. Again, more peppers. I have Anaheim peppers, jalapeno peppers, bell peppers, and banana peppers. I believe those are the 4 varieties I have of peppers this year, and they all got sort of mixed up. So whatever comes out, I'll figure that out when they start to fruit. And then my eggplants were super old seeds. I didn't think any of them would come up, and well, ta-da! I have about 20-25 eggplants. So this bed is all eggplants, and they seem to be transplanting just fine. I transplanted them last week and they look okay. And as you can tell from the containers here, this is what we're using to water our back gardens. We are just filling these up and trying to keep our plants alive during this drought. Unfortunately, it looks like we're losing our blueberries. We just can't give them enough water, which is really sad, but they just, for whatever reason, have not done well in our yard. I think part of it has to do with the fact that we have too much shade. Maybe they'll come back if we get some rain, but it's not looking good for the blueberries. In front of the chicken coop, I wanted to continue on trying to get a good selection of herbs here, and so I have some thyme. This plant had already gotten this, someone gave this to me. It was already really dehydrated. I think it's gonna survive, I'm not sure. The sage I grew from seed. This is a little baby lavender. Yeah, I'm not feeling good about it. Rosemary that I wintered over, and then this thyme also wintered over. It smells It smells amazing. And then garlic chives. I put marigolds all across the front, so I'm hoping this will all be a beautiful, just orange color, looking back to the backyard with just my herbs here. I'm going to put more herbs here, but my seeds aren't quite ready to transplant. And then over this year, I pulled out all of my irises. They had gotten really weedy, they weren't flowering, and they just weren't thriving here. So I pulled all these out and I grew some hyssop. Now this one, an animal came through and dug out, so that's why this one's ahead of that one. And then some lupine, which is not doing well. I don't know why. It could be the soil, it could just be the fact that it's so dry around here. I love my raised bed. If you've never done raised bed gardening, this is my second year doing it. Last year was fabulous, and this year it's doing great. I love this. And so I have 2 eggplants on this side, 2 peppers here. Again, putting the onions down the middle. I didn't do a ton of onions. Lettuce here. I'll probably be switching out the lettuce. So once I harvest this, I'll be putting more baby lettuces in between so we can just constantly have a flow of lettuce. And this lettuce head here, just for size comparison here, this wintered over from last fall, and that's why I've said before, if you can plant your lettuce in the fall and get it to a point where it's about this big before snow comes and cover it and winter it over, your lettuce in the spring will be amazing. And that has happened every single year I've done this. My parsley died, it was too dry. And then I had a whole other bunch of lettuce, baby lettuce, that also died. But I do have a basil and then a Rutgers tomato. It's actually raining. It's picking up. I have to talk faster. My neighbor's brother told her that the Rutger tomatoes are some of the best out there. And so we searched high and low and we found a nursery locally that carried them. And so we bought 8 Rutger tomatoes. She has 4 in her garden and I have 4 in various places around the different garden beds, and we're going to experiment and see how we like them and if they're better than some of the other varieties that I have. But I have been told that they are amazing, and if you want to store them at the end of the season, you can just pick them when they're still green. They're ripe, but they're green, and then wrap them in paper and you can store them in a cool place and they will slowly ripen and you can have tomatoes for many weeks past the frost. We'll see how that works. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Now this seriously looks like a hot mess. These are kale that I purposely let it go to seed because I was attracting pollinators into the garden. These were covered with honeybees, bumblebees, all sorts of pollinators, and I probably am not going to need all these seeds because these are going to turn into kale seeds, but I really wanted to keep them for the pollinators. They are just coming to the end here. And then I have my rhubarb buried in here. Squash, spaghetti squash, acorn squash, and butternut squash are in here. Nothing has germinated. These are seeds. Nothing has germinated because it's just been so dry. And then in here, again, we have been watering every single day just to keep things alive. So zucchini, but I couldn't get my yellow squash to germinate, so I went ahead and replanted earlier this week. You can see how dry it is. The brown bits on all of the garlic is just a sign of how dry it's been. And this is with watering. The garlic looks healthy, but I think it could be a lot bigger. And we're also just getting scapes. So if you haven't seen my video on what I do with scapes, check that out. Earlier this year, I dug out a huge comfrey plant, and that unfortunately was detrimental to my red onion sets. Again, it's so dry. Things are not growing very well. More garlic. Walking onions, Egyptian walking onions. These are great if you're wanting to start out with onions. They don't create bulbs, but they are excellent green onions, and I use them in soups and all that good stuff. More lettuce, getting ready to harvest. Lost all of my beets because it was just too dry. However, some carrots did make it. So we'll have a couple carrots, probably not a lot. I should replant those. And then over here, we have not had tomatoes back here in a really long time. So we put in tomatoes. I have some parsley in between the tomatoes. And if you look here, I don't know if you guys can see these little white spots. That is from flea beetles, and so I should actually, after this rain goes by, I will dust these with diatomaceous earth. Uh-oh, something got in here and ate this. Look at that. I would vouch that was Mr. Bunny, and it's fresh. See how it's oozing? That is fresh gnawing damage, so Mr. Bunny must have been in here this morning. Anyways, diatomaceous earth works really well on flea beetles. Just sprinkle it around. It won't hurt the plants, and it's good stuff. These are the girls' plots. This plot is Lydia's. Actually, she hasn't taken her covers off because we've had problems with bunnies. We've been covering up the plants. So this is Lydia's plot here. And then back there is Mary's plot. And they have tomatoes along with some basil, and she should have some parsley there. Let's see, and some more basil. She has marigolds here. The beets are just starting to come up here, along with tomatoes and then carrots. She's done really well with her space. And then Mary has a similar selection, marigolds. She has more carrots. Been a real struggle with the carrots. She should have 3 rows of carrots, and then basil and parsley for her, and 2 tomatoes, and some garlic back there, but that garlic is really dry. Ow! Ow, 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 what a bratty bunny. He ate all of that too. Ugh, that was beautiful last night. All that lettuce right there, and he just went and gnawed it all down. I know I'm supposed to be able to peacefully coexist with wildlife. I will say there's a place for wildlife, and it's not in my garden. So what I've been doing for that, and we really haven't had a huge problem, I've been using a combination of dried blood meal. This is an organic solution, so this would be, I believe, nitrogen that I'm adding to the soil. Have to be careful, you don't want to add too much nitrogen because then you'll have all leaf and no produce. But I'm just using this to control the rabbits, sprinkling it around not the plants but the edges, the perimeters of everything. It's been working. I did not put it around last night. Since I've watered, you really have to keep this down dry, is what I've found. And I watered yesterday, and I haven't put this down for 3 days. So that was my first trick for keeping the rabbits away, and it's been working. The other product that I grabbed was this mole and gopher repellent. I had been reading that castor oil works really well for repelling those type of critters, and that's the main ingredient. Again, I believe this was an organic and safe item to use around our food. I don't like having to always use products like this, but we were at the point that there was no way to control these critters, and we were going to either lose our garden or lose the animals, and we just want the animals to move out. There's plenty of space other places. They don't need to be in my garden. So those were the 2 things we've been using, along with the diatomaceous earth, because they don't like to get the crystals in their paws. And that's been very effective for everywhere except when it rains or when you water and then you wash that away and you have to reapply, which I didn't do. And you saw what happened. The greenhouse is at its end. These were plants, broccoli plants and pak choi that ended up going to seed. I just, there was no point in keeping them, so they just went ahead and died. These are my watermelons. It is too cold. Ooh, this looks too wet. I'm gonna have to transplant that. That looks really unhappy. This is a rosemary, and I don't want to lose that. The watermelons like hot, and they have loved the greenhouse, but this upcoming week of weather is supposed to be only in the low 70s. That's not quite warm enough for them. So I am leaving them in the greenhouse until it warms up, and we'll put them out. These trays, a fellow gardener gave me. These were actually clippings off of her plants, and I need to plant those. And this is the sad fuchsia that I attempted to winter over. I did winter over it, then it got left out and in the frost. It looked like it died, and then it came back. But that's how it came back. So I'm still working on babying this, seeing how I can get that to really look a little bit better. And then we have more watermelon, and then back here are cantaloupe. Again, they have not I mean, some have germinated, but it's been rough with it being so dry. We also have more marigolds, dill, and then the girls have some 4 o'clocks that they need to plant. This is the last of my celery that I need, well, the last on this tray that I need to plant. And then I have a couple other, looks like a 4 o'clock there. I have a couple other plants that need to go in. These are all of, well, not all, we've planted a whole bunch of them of Grace's pansy plants, and they are just starting to flower here. So that's really exciting. She got those for her birthday, and these have been her plants to take care of. She's done a great job, and she's really excited they're gonna flower really soon. I really try to keep these videos short and sweet, but there's just so much to show you guys. I apologize. Maybe I should turn this into 2 videos, part 1 and part 2. I don't know, maybe I should do that because these are turning really long and I still have more gardens to show you. Because of the extreme amount of heat, the greenhouse got so hot. I took these plants and put them on the shelf, which actually worked really well this week. So I have more lavender in case that one doesn't die, that one out front doesn't make it. I do have more lavender here and then a little baby lavender plant here. These are zinnias, another 4 o'clock, hyssop that all need to get planted. I do have a few more herbs, parsley, basil, that all need to get planted. More marigold. These are impatiens that are slowly growing, and a few more onions and some more sage. These are our cucumbers. Again, not doing bad considering how dry it's been. We have had the critter in here a few times before we put down our blood meal, and so far we've been okay. It's not doing too bad. Had to replant the cucumbers. You can see they're just starting to come up again. And I have 3 different varieties. I believe these are Boston pickling. Then I have homegrown, I believe that was the name of it, by Pine Tree Seeds. And then over here I have Market More cucumbers. So 3 different types. We'll see what we like. I like the slicers for our garden, but I really like the picklers. The picklers seem to do really well when I make pickles with them. So I'm really happy with those, and I want to have that variety. I ended up putting all the way back there Cosmos. These were volunteer Cosmos plants, and well, they're trying to make it. I see we've lost there's a fella somebody dug up, and there's a mole hole. Like I said, we have had more problems with that mole this year. Put him in there. Maybe he'll make it, maybe he won't. Horseradish. I have tried to pull horseradish, but yeah, it keeps coming back. Something new, I don't know if you can spy it in this video frame, something new we added to our garden is asparagus. We actually got it to grow, unlike the grapes that we planted at the same time. I have asparagus. This is a baby asparagus, and then you can see these are going to seed. You cannot pick these until the 3rd year, so we're just babying these right now. Got another one here, and they're doing okay. I was told that you trench them like this and you only partially plant them, and then once they sprout like this, we're going to take, well, probably not the sand, we'll probably take compost and fill it up some more. And we've got different varieties. This is the green, and then over here this is purple. I know it doesn't look purple to you guys, but when it first comes out, see how that looks purple now? And we've got a bunch of that. There's another purple one right there. So yay, we at least have asparagus growing, and this garden has been doing actually really well considering all the dryness and the animals that we've had and we've been fighting with. If you're new to our channel, you know that our neighbor kindly lets us garden on her property. So this is her property that we're currently borrowing, and we share the produce here. Now these gardens are not done yet. It has been too hot to finish these up, but I have celery here, which has been doing fairly well, and then broccoli and different varieties of cabbage. Now this week a woodchuck got in here and ended up going right down the row and eating all the tops of the broccoli. We tried to catch it, no such success, but I did do the blood meal, and you can see it's left, they're gone. He hasn't come back. So I have to stay on top of that until these plants get big enough that the woodchuck will stay away from them. Again, too hot. We have not gotten this end done. This will be our pumpkin bed and watermelon and things like that. It's got to get cleaned out. We just haven't gotten to it yet. We are also in the process of renovating an investment property for an Airbnb, and that's also affectionately known as the Snail's Pace Challenge. If you haven't checked those videos out, well, you can see what I've been doing with all of our spare time. And this challenge runs until June 26th. The challenge time-wise is really bad because it's the heart of garden season and we're trying to do gardening and this challenge, but that's how life goes sometimes. Sometimes you just have to push yourself, and that you're seeing part of that challenge reflected in these gardens because we just haven't had the time to get this done. We do have raspberries plants in here. They're not doing great, but you know, they're not dead. And then we have some blackberry bushes here, trying to get those to spread more, but you know, that's a work in progress. Blueberries, we ended up mulching earlier this year with the boys' help. Couple weeds went through. These were really weedy, really weedy. And so I did the cardboard over the top and then did several inches of mulch. Couldn't get too close to the plant, so I do need to hand weed that. And some of these plants, I'm not sure what they're called, but some of these guys pushed right through the cardboard, and these are awful. They have nasty taproots, and I have to take a shovel to these. And those are the ones that seem to come through almost all of the cardboard here. Art and I have both agreed that we have reached our limit for how much we can do as individuals in these gardens and keep them up. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-time vegetable beds that we're trying to maintain. We established these 3 in the back 2 years ago, and they need a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And because they're not in a place where we can use mechanical equipment, this is all hand work that we're doing. And so we really can't expand any more than what we have because we've reached our limit. This blueberry patch, this winter we had some snow and it actually broke down the boards there. We had to pull the netting down. The blueberries didn't suffer too badly. In fact, if you look over there, there are lots of, get my finger out of the way, there are lots of beautiful blueberries coming. What we need to do is finish putting those boards up and getting that netting on before the birds get in there. But we've got about 3 or 4 weeks before that happens. So in this garden here, we had a really hard time. This is all clay. For whatever reason, this section is just solid clay. And we really need to get some more compost in here, but we ran out. Imagine that. So Art helped me put in, I think there's 36 tomatoes back here. We have a whole 2 rows there and then another 2 rows over here. Multiple varieties. I'm not sure if we're gonna have time to tackle that and put anything in there. I don't know. I don't know if we have enough time. And then all those white flowers are blackberries. In a perfect world, and you guys know this is not a perfect world, my plan was to put mulch all the way around there and then mulch all the way around here. I wanted to put lupine flowers. I wanted lavender back here, really making this feel like a haven. I just don't have that time. And I ran out of wood chips. All the wood chips that we had gotten this year or this past fall from our neighbors taking some trees down, we went through all of them. So I ran out. But there's all those beautiful blackberries, and I think this is going to be a good year for blackberries if we can get some water and get those berries to plump up. Our last garden, affectionately known as the orange garden, we were going to abandon this garden this year. But then we decided, we had already worked so hard at removing some trees here. There was another big black walnut tree over there that was shading everything. We said, oh, we should just put it in. So with the help of a friend's rototiller, we were able to till just straight paths. I try to not do a lot of tilling, but this had gotten crushed from all the wood, the tree removal, so we rototilled. And then this is all potatoes. And you can see some of the potatoes are just starting to sprout. We have 4 full rows of potatoes, some garlic, and then around the front here. See if I can get you guys to see these. These are all onions that had sprouted in the house, and I didn't want to throw them out, so we just replanted them, and they look like they're doing well. So I'm hoping that we'll get an additional harvest of onions back here. And then the girls wanted to plant some dill back here. So we've got a couple mounds of dill. I've been told it helps repel the deer. Even though we live in a pretty busy place in town, because of the wooded area back here, we have deer and we have woodchucks and we have rodents, and so we really do have to fight those animals, just like probably most everybody else that lives in the country, dealing with them and trying to find ways to work with that and keep the animals from destroying everything that we're working so hard to grow. And Charity and Colin's grandpa built us a bluebird nest box. Now, I don't think we're gonna get bluebirds this year, but we did go ahead and put it up, and we don't have an owl back there for our owl box. We did not have an owl. We heard the owl, but we don't have him in there. There are my gardens. 5 that I'm trying to keep up. 2 are going okay. The other 3, well, they're a work in progress. And we'll see what happens by the end of the month. I will be doing another garden tour either at the end of June or beginning of July. You guys can see how things have grown and changed and what's worked and what hasn't. I'm going to do another short video on my flowers. Some tricks and tips and things like that I've been doing this year, if you guys are interested in seeing those. But as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if this is your type of thing, and join the community, and we'll see you next time. Bye.